Today I'm going to take a look at mic check, mic check. There we go. Today I want to take a look at how to grant access to multiple SharePoint sites using PowerShell PnP. Now this is something available to end users. You do not have to be a SharePoint administrator, a local PC administrator, or a global administrator. Any end user can use this method to grant access to multiple SharePoint sites easily. So here we're taking a look at the tenant. We have three different sites, test 1, 2, and 3. So we'll go ahead and open up test 1. Here we are, the welcome screen. Start designing, change the look, upload files, invite team members. So let's say you want to grant access to a high number of people to a high number of sites. So here's test 1. We also have a site called test 2, and we have a third site called test 3. And maybe we're trying to grant access to a large number of people on a large number of sites. Tedious process we don't want to do manually. That's an excellent way to apply PowerShell to save us time. And here we have a PowerShell script that I'm going to make some adjustments to. There's a site URL, connecting to the site, enumerating the list, opening a CSV for access, and looping the CSV to grant. The core command in all of this is the set PnP web permission, which is granting access. And we'd like to continue this pattern, but to go ahead and modify it for supporting Azure AD groups. The current design is doing single usernames, and single usernames don't scale well when we're having repetition. So what we'd like to do is set up an Azure AD group, a security group specifically, a security group in Azure AD, and we'll grant that access to multiple sites. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll take the usernames, go over to Azure AD, and add them as members to a group. So here in Azure Active Directory, we'd like to make a new group. The type will be security, and we'll call this demo test group. And can Azure AD roles be assigned? No. Membership type assigned. Owners, members. So what we're doing is we're making a security group, providing a name, and using the direct assigned. You could do dynamic here, would be the other options. That would be based on rules and logic. But for today's use case, we're going to say membership type assigned with a group type and group name. So let's go ahead and click the members, and we can add in the people that we'd like. Here we can add test 1, test 2, test 3. So 3 different test users are selected. And for owner, you probably do want to go ahead and pick out an owner for your group just as a point of contact for long-term support. So we have 1 owner selected. We have 3 members selected. We have the name of our new group. We'll go ahead and create. So here we can see our demo test group with our members listed. We have all 3 members. We can verify by the email address. And from the overview, we have an object ID number. Now this is how Azure Active Directory tracks the group, is by GUID number. And you'll actually see that in the URL at the top, that there's a GUID number for each Azure AD security group. That's how they're tracked, and that's what we'll need to go ahead and add this to the site. So we'll take note of the name of the group and the ID number and update our PowerShell. Then back to our PowerShell, we can update the CSV with the name of the group, demo test group, and over to the code itself, we can do our site URL that we have, our first one, and we can actually make a comma separated series of sites and go ahead and use a split string to do looping and execute this for multiple targets. So here we can mark a split on the comma. That's right. Test 1, 2, and 3. Site URLs. Rename that to be plural. Yes. And here we can do this one. And we'll say for each $site URL in $site URLs. So we have the multiple, we have the single. We'll bring all of those together. Yes. And over here, we'll take one, bring it over that way, and this will be loop mini sites. That's it. We'll go ahead and execute, and this will apply the grant to all of our 3 site collections, applying the group, giving 3 people access to 3 different sites, but using the group so we have centralized management going forward. And that allows us to add new members to all of the sites at one time by adding them to the group instead of to the site individually. And looking at SharePoint Online, the formatting for a group name in Azure Active Directory is actually the GUID number with a claims 0 tenant prefix. So when we're granting access, we want to use that same pattern for setting up our permission grant. So over here, the username that we are granting access to the site is actually C0 tenant name and then the GUID number. So we want to follow that same pattern as we're granting access. I wanted to show this from the user information. You can navigate to this at any time by going to settings, finding a group, locating it, and then copying the account line, which is going to have the login. But we'll go ahead and remove here manually and allow the script to grant access to the group using this GUID number for all sites. And here, executing the script, we can see the echo coming back for each permission grant as they're completed. Going back over to the site, if we refresh, we can check out the permissions. And I like to navigate to user.aspx. That's a really good page for this purpose. And here we can see domain group with contribute permissions. And again, if we click the name of the group, we'll see the GUID number with C0 tenant prefix. And that part's coming through. That matches up with our CSV, C0 claims prefix with the GUID number, contribute rights, and that looks really good. So we'll close this out. Yes, C0 demo test group, granted, 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 across all of the sites. We'll go in and check each one. We can do that pretty easily. Advanced site permissions on test 3, there it is. Test 2, gear icon, site permissions, go to advanced, test 2, there we are. So we were able to add an Azure Active Directory security group to multiple site collections using PowerShell PnP. This requires no special admin rights. You do not have to be a SharePoint admin on the tenant. You don't have to be a local PC admin. This is PowerShell scripting for end users that anyone can run to provision security easily to multiple sites. Thanks for watching.